ამონარიდი წარმოდგენილია როგორც საცდელი ნაწყვეტი აუდიო პროექტის რადიო კინოს ფარგლებში. რადიო კინო მოიცავს ხელოვნებისა და განსაკუთრებით კინოს შესახებ არსებული მხატვრული, შემეცნებითი და სამეცნიერო ლიტერატურის აუდიო ფორმატში გადატანას და მის მომხმარებლისთვის შეთავაზებას. პროექტს კურირებს საქართველოს კინო აკადემია, დიოგენე 2020, სოკო სტუდიო და პარტნიორები.
This lecture is being filmed for the people who can't be here, and I thought to start to kind of speak about Mikhail Chekhov and situate him in a way in this whole kind of modern theater scene that we have. So Mikhail Chekhov was the nephew of Anton Chekhov, and early on he and people around noticed that he was an actor. And at that time, the Moscow Art Theater was there, and it became a big influence for acting training all over the world. But it was basically a theater. So it was the Moscow Art Theater. So they were going to make art. And it was a time where theater was quite a presence in the culture, in Russian culture, but also in America and other European countries. So the Moscow Art Theater was this group of artists that were around at a time. And we know still some of them because their names have been passed down to us. And also there was a time when they traveled and toured also the US and performed here on Broadway. As a side note, Mikhail Chekhov gave a lecture at the New School because I found a poster that says so, and I have a picture of it. I can show you later. And it was on 66th West 12th Street, and the building that still exists, the stage that's still there. And it says on the poster, Mikhail Chekhov, only lecture in America, and it was like $1 or something. So he basically came to the Moscow Art Theater. So there were several artists. One was Stanislavski, one was Meyerhold. I don't know if you heard of Meyerhold. One was Vakhtangov. I don't know if you heard of him. There was also another director whose name was Tairov. And then there was Mikhail Chekhov. And Stanislavski became very interested in truth in the theater. And you go, what is the measurement for truth? And Stanislavski, one could say, that is the story I'm telling, in my understanding, looked at life to find truth. And so, but how are people actually behaving? What are people actually doing? And he made up these little exercises for himself that he would watch in a cafe other people, and he would try to guess what they were talking about. He would try to guess what their relationship was. And then late afterwards, he would go to them and just go, forgive me, what was it you were talking about? And in that way, he was trying to kind of go into the human condition in a search for something meaningful that would be true and that would be worth to put on a stage. But he looked at life. So that led to this completely different style of acting. And the story goes that when they did The Seagull, which was Mikhail Chekhov's uncle's play, and they performed it at the Moscow Art Theater, afterwards there was like dead silence. And they had performed for the first time in this new way, where it was like, what does this person want from that person? And what does it, what does that mean? And what are the, And so the story goes, there was dead silence, and then the actors thought, they hate it, we close this place. And then it just erupted, and it was just this celebration that there was something new that had happened in the theater. So that, in a way, time was the time of the Moscow Art Theater, and there were these people, and the people that were there had very, very different aesthetics. So Vakhtangov, for instance, he was also looking for truth, but he was a director and an actor, but he was looking for something, that he called fantastical realism. So he was looking, in a way, the truth, but also this, also the bigness. the kind of the theatrical truth in a way. So truth in relationship to the art form theater. And then there was Meyerhold, and he kind of, the story goes, he had this kind of darker nature, and he would just kind of get rid of scenery, and it was just brick walls and then pieces of sets there, and it was about, you know, something quite dark of the human nature. And then Tairov, the story goes, he was primarily interested in beauty. So everything would be beautiful, superficially beautiful, but he was in a way in love with beauty. And so what's interesting to me in this is that all these people were together in this time, and now when we look at the past, we go, oh, you know, this person was like this person was like this, but it's kind of like friends being together, and one person kind of influences the other person, and you don't quite know how things move and who gets what from what. And there are also some stories about Mikhail Chekhov. For instance, Stanislavski was developing his system, and so he made up these exercises. And so one thing he worked with was like with the actors, you know, like remember an event in your life, like da da da. So Mikhail Chekhov was working with, you know, the death of his father, and was speaking and crying, and everybody in the room was crying, and you know, Stanislavski went, yes, you know, and this is the way, and you know, I can really think. And then he found out that Mikhail Chekhov's father hadn't died. And then Mikhail Chekhov got temporarily kicked out of school for an overactive imagination. So it was like a conversation, basically, that continued while they were together at the Moscow Art Theater. And then what happened was the Russian Revolution. And Mikhail Chekhov, as he writes into The Actor, if you are interested, it is an amazing book. Towards the end, he writes about the intangibles, and he's speaking about that what is visible and tangible in life is just really a small portion. And what is intangible, what in the realm of what is meaningful, that needs to be in our work, that needs to be what we are working with. One way is the imagination, something that's there and it isn't there. And yet the world of